All right, let's talk about something that can feel a little weird, a little baffling, especially if you're not from the US. I'm talking about American small talk. You know exactly what I mean, right? That little chat with your barista, the elevator exchange, that classic Monday morning, how was your weekend?
So here's the big question, the one I think we've all asked ourselves at some point. Is it all just fluff? Meaningless chatter just to fill the silence? Or is there actually something deeper going on here?
And look, I get it. It's so easy to feel like it's all just superficial. Kind of fake even, right? I mean, does that person really care about my weekend plans or the weather? It's a totally fair critique. And that's exactly what we're going to dig into today. So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll tackle that idea of meaningless chatter. Then we'll reframe it as something called the social handshake. We'll even look at where it came from, historically. After that, we'll cover the unspoken rules. And hopefully, by the end, you'll see it's about way more than just the weather.
Okay, first things first. Let's really confront that big criticism head on. The idea that it's all just an act. But what if we've been looking at this the wrong way? What if the words themselves, the stuff about the weather or sports, aren't actually the point? What if the real purpose is something totally different?
And this is where we get to the core of it. I want you to try thinking about it differently. It's not really a conversation. It's more like a social handshake. Seriously, it's just a quick, super low-risk way to say, hey, I see you, I'm friendly, without having to commit to anything more. It's just like putting your hand out for a real handshake. And this social handshake, it actually does a few things, really important things. First, it helps you figure out if the other person is even open to talking. It also just sets a friendly tone, And maybe the biggest thing is that it can be a bridge to something more. Think of it like a little scouting mission. You're just checking things out to see if there's potential for a real conversation, all without any pressure.
So where did this whole social handshake thing even come from? It's not like someone just invented it one day. It turns out it's actually woven right into the story of America. It grew out of, well, pure necessity.
I mean, just think about American history for a second. You had the westward expansion in the 1800s, people constantly on the move. Then, massive waves of immigration, with people coming from everywhere. And then, after World War II, you had this huge boom in the suburbs. The one thing all of these have in common? Strangers being thrown together all the time.
And that's the key right there. When you have a culture that's built on moving around and meeting new people, you need a tool for that. You need a fast, friendly, low-stakes way to interact with all these strangers. You need a way to start building a community, even if it's just for a moment. And that tool became small talk.
All right, so if we agree it's a tool, that means it's also a skill. And you know what? It's a skill anyone can learn. But like any skill, it has some rules. They're mostly unspoken, but they're definitely there.
So rule number 1 is all about the topic. Remember, the whole point is to find a little bit of common ground, not to start a fight. That's why you stick to the safe stuff. The weather, sports, that new show everyone's talking about. You actively avoid the danger zones. Politics, religion, how much money you make, all that heavy stuff. Why? Because that stuff can put up a wall before you've even had a chance to connect.
And the actual how-to is pretty simple, really. It's basically a 3-step process. Step 1, just look around. What's your shared situation? Maybe you're both waiting in a super long line. Step 2, ask a simple, open-ended question about it, not a yes or no question. Something like, wow, this line is crazy today, huh? And step 3, and this is important, actually listen to their answer. You're listening for a little hook, anything you can grab onto to keep the ball rolling.
Okay, so let's start to pull all these threads together. We've seen that small talk is way more than just hot air. It's a real tool with a fascinating history and a very clear purpose. But there's one last piece of the puzzle, one final way to think about it that I think changes everything.
And this is probably the most important thing to remember. The conversation itself, the words about the rain or the weekend, that's not the real point. The point is the invitation. It's a signal. It's you saying, hey, I see you, I'm a friendly person, I'm open to a connection. The small talk isn't the room, it's just the act of opening the door. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that American small talk isn't some kind of character flaw or a sign that people are fake. It's a cultural tool, one that's been sharpened over centuries of mobility and, well, a certain kind of optimism. An optimism that the stranger next to you might just be a friend you haven't met. It really is a foundational piece of American social life. So, the next time you're standing in a quiet elevator or waiting in line for your coffee, you've got a choice. You can keep to yourself, or you can offer that little social handshake.
You can open the door just a crack. So the question I'll leave you with is, what signal are you going to send?